Hi, Celebrate Recovery family at Heartland. It's Holly Muth, and I am um, glad to be sharing a little bit of my story right now. I think most of you guys hopefully know me, and if you don't, I'm still somewhat new with the at CR. I've been around now for about 6, 7 months, and so I've been so grateful for all the friendships and the growth that I have had. It's been just amazing, and so the reason I'm recording this time right now with you is that a few weeks back, I found a chart on Facebook that really resonated with me, and I saw it and liked it, and so I posted it on my own personal page, and it resonated with a lot of you folks. And here I will share this with you. Jonathan had saw it, and he had asked me. He said, "Hey, Holly, you know what? Would you mind just sharing for a few minutes your experience with this chart and what you've been doing these last month or so to get out of these different zones?" And so that is what I'm doing. And I do want to put a disclaimer out there that I didn't make this chart. As I said, I don't know who did make the chart. So I'd love to give credit to whoever did, because I think they did a tremendous job of putting a visual out there for us to really articulate, the different zones that we can find ourselves in this COVID-19 world that we're in. So, all right. So I want to try to keep this to the point. You know, for me personally, for anybody that doesn't know my background, I am in the financial industry. I handle and manage about 300 families' finances and their investments. And as many of you probably know, markets have been just hammered and greatly impacted over this last 4 weeks and last 4 to 5 weeks. And it's been the biggest drop I've seen in my 10 years in the industry. And so it certainly, to say that fear was not relevant would be, I mean, fear was definitely um, uh, all over the place. No one, it'll go down in history as the fastest pullback in history that occurred in a matter of 2 weeks. We were down about 34%. And so the markets really just priced this thing for a recession right off the bat. And certainly we will have a recession. It's being estimated, and we think it'll be a deep recession, but we think it'll be a very quick one. So anyway, yes, to say I was afraid, of course I was afraid, and I wasn't so much afraid of the narrative because I'm grateful that I get enough information to know that the underlying issue here was a healthcare problem. It wasn't a 2008. What I was really afraid of was my clients um, and how they were feeling. And it just bothered me to think that they really needed someone there for them. So, in addition to my financial background, of course, I have 2 kids at home. My husband and I are both essential workers. So, how do we go about getting our kids, homeschooling now? And I don't, me and technology aren't two words usually in a sentence. And so, how does all that happen? I was afraid that, of that. I was afraid of, in the end, would I be able to be gone or, be working all day long here overtime and then come home and help with my kids and their transition? Would I be enough for them? What logistically would we do to reach these households that we serve? What would me and my team be able to do? I'm not sure about the virus. I was afraid of the virus. And, to be honest with you, at the time that I'm recording this, my 15-year-old is now being tested for COVID-19. And so we'll see what happens. Hopefully she comes back and she's going to be okay. So there's definitely some fear, a lot of fear. If I was really honest with you, though, I would tell you I was also 4 or 5 weeks ago afraid of how I was going to respond to those fears. Because a year ago, prior to CR, Holly Muth would deal with her stress by coming home, and after the kids were in bed and my husband was asleep, I would, he's an early bird, I would go pour myself my glass of wine and my big bowl of popcorn, and then I would, one would turn into two, and sometimes two would turn into three, and mostly it was 1 to 2, but then it would be popcorn, and then it would be a bowl of ice cream, and then it would be goldfish, and eating was probably the bigger even issue, but I would eat my way out of stress. I would consume my way out of stress. And I did not want to go back there. So I was afraid of would I go back to that? And I'm a different girl than I was 7 months ago. And so I have not gone back there, gratefully. But I tell you what I did do is I did do quite a bit of analyzing, and I overanalyzed. I wanted to know and gather everything I could about this virus, about the economy, about what was every possible scenario and outcome that could happen, and are we all prepared for that at home and with my clients? And then yeah, I would say I would after that I would just be utterly exhausted. And so my prayer life wasn't the best. I would say I try to pray every morning, but I would tell you that about a third of those prayers were meaningful. So how did I do this? How did I get out of fear though and get into learning? So I think the number one thing that helped me to do that is I started to really notice that those days, those third of the time that I did have those meaningful prayers, and I mean like they weren't anything special. They were just good, meaningful. God, I need you. I'm going to go through another day. I'm going to reach out to 30 more clients. I'm going to learn this new technology. God, I need you. Please give me the strength that I need. Please give me the words. Be my words. Be my conviction. Those days went just like that. Those days I did have energy. I was able to call and I mean, just walking back and forth in my office, and I had that conviction and that connection with my clients, and I could tell them exactly what they needed to hear, and they felt better. And I'd come home and sit next to my kids, say, okay, tell me more about this Google Classroom. Did you get done what you needed to? And I had more energy for them. I had just the amount of energy that I needed to get through those days. So I noticed that those days I prayed and relied on God. He came through for me. And as we're looking through our steps, I was thinking, that was really step 2 had become evident in my life, and that I came to believe that a power greater than me was going to restore me to sanity. There is no doubt, as the Philippians 2:13 verse says, that God is, for it's God who works in me to will and to act to fulfill his good purpose. And so it's like he really brought that awareness to me, like, hey, I'm the one doing this, kiddo. And so contrasted against the days I didn't, when I was exhausted, it started to dawn on me that this is going to be my lifeline. So then, step 11 became my lifeline. I sought, prayer and meditation, just having that conscious, intentional contact with God, praying only for the knowledge of his will, for me, for anybody that he would put into contact with me, and then, God, please do give me the power and the strength to carry that out. And I knew, and slowly, surely, as I was going from fear to learning, I had more and more of those days of step 11, of those, just meaningful, again, 10-15 minutes meaningful time. And then he actually started to teach me throughout the day, okay, I'm going to talk to another client that maybe is more worried than the one previous, or maybe it's with my kids. Okay, God, help me have this conversation, help me to have patience right now with a situation we don't understand. And so he really more and more helped me through that prayer time. And so so after I did that, and I was really in this learning zone, I would say that the first thing he really did is he helped me to identify my emotions. That I totally agree with this chart. And I really, especially as I was preparing for this talk, I was thinking, what was I really afraid of? And when I wrote it down, there was no question that I was afraid of being alone. I'm very much afraid of loneliness. I don't do really well when it's quiet. Alone is scary for me. And if you really peel that onion back underneath the loneliness, there's some pain there of rejection and abandonment. And that really resonates with me, even as I say it to you right now, because when I'm feeling that, when I feel that pain, I'm not afraid of the quiet anymore. I'm not, ironically, I'm not afraid to be alone anymore. In fact, there's a part of me that kind of craves it. There's some healing that is just clearly happening. So yeah, I definitely identified my emotions. God helped me so much through this next of, making myself aware of the situation and how to act. He helped me then really implement a good plan with me and my colleagues and me at home. That was just enough busyness that, guess what, I didn't have time to do the stuff up here anymore. I maybe had about 20-30 minutes at the end of my day to watch any news that I needed to watch anymore at that point. um, I definitely, uh, my goal, my mission at that point was I wanted to just be a voice for other people. And so I would tell you, going from learning to growth, what I felt like God was telling me in learning was like, okay, are you ready? You're letting go. That's good. You're letting it go with me every day. I think you're connected with how you're really feeling. Are you ready? Because now I'm about ready to really grow you in this learning zone, and I'm going to just pour all kinds of stuff on you. And so he's everything from technology to understanding I have very capable people in my life. I think the biggest thing he made me aware of was that we had already prepared for this. He reminded me that, and every review I had done in 2019 was all about recessions, liquidity, quality, and making sure we were prepared for one because of what happened at the end of 18. 18 was a tough year. Markets were pulled back in 18. And so I was so grateful. I knew that information, but he really deeply brought that conviction in me, and gave me the words and how to remind my clients with confidence that we were already prepared for this. He gave me some great visual aids to give them, to be able to articulate that for them. And so I felt like I was so equipped with all the things he wanted me to know to move into this growth zone. And the growth zone, I'm finding, I'm still moving into the growth zone. I have a lot of growing happening right now, but I certainly have a purpose of finding that voice for other people. I want to, I love the identifying my skills. What is it that God equipped me to do? Technology isn't one of them. I'm getting better at it, but I would say that empathy to others, having a sense of transparency, being vulnerable, and I'm an encourager. I've always known God wants me to be an encourager for other people. So God said, use that. And I'm going to, reach out. I'll handle it with the technology with you. You just be that encourager that I know you are. You do that, I'll handle the rest. So that's what I'm doing. Whether it's through WebEx seminars, I'm now doing at work. I had my first one last week, and 30 people showed up, and it was just went tremendous. I remember our first Zoom meeting with you guys, with a few of you guys, and I don't know about you, but I felt so good when I saw your faces. It was just, again, I just lit up. And I've been doing some other training of other ways I am finding that I can help other people, some small businesses through social media. And I got to tell you, in the end, not only does this all naturally happen, but just gratitude naturally happens when you see all God's doing in your life. And the fact that I am sitting here doing WebEx seminars and Zoom meetings, hosting Zoom meetings, and um, the type of even another big, huge, giant project I'm doing with about 70 other peers of mine about helping small businesses. It's just unreal. Like, God, this would never be something I would do. This is something only you would do in me. So in closing, I think I want to tell you, two things. One is, the one verse that I really resonated with was Luke 8:14 and 15. And I found this verse as I was preparing for this, and it says that the seed that fell among thorns stands for those who hear, but as they go on their way, they're choked by life's worries, riches, and pleasures, and they don't mature. And there's no question, if we're sitting here in fear, we're being choked, and I was being choked. But the seed on good soil stands for those with a noble and a good heart who hear the word, retain it, and they, by persevering, they produce a crop. And what was wild about it, I found that verse, is this visual aid that God gave me for my clients. Is every one of them, I told them to imagine their farm. And on your farm, client Mr. Jones, I want you to imagine you have your sheep and your cattle and your pigs and your goats and your chickens. And you have just the same amount of those animals or quote shares as you did a month ago. And in fact, you have more because those chickens lay eggs and those eggs hatch into more chickens, and those are called dividends that get reinvested. Your cows make milk, which is interest, on and on. I said, and I want you to go to the front of that gate because I am standing at the front of your gate, that gate, and so are you, and we will guard that gate because every one of these animals, they all have a big red bow on them because they are quality companies and quality bonds. And we wouldn't dare open our gate up and let somebody come in for 90 cents on the dollar. No way. And so that vision came to me. And as I was thinking about that and in Luke 8:14 and 15, I thought about us and I thought, we need to guard our hearts, right? We need to stand outside our crop. And in Proverbs 4:20 through 23 says, through 27 says, is to guard our hearts, guard our peace. Guard, don't let anything perverse come off our minds, or, get rid of those bad thoughts. If we get angry, it's okay. Acknowledge our anger. Be kind to yourself, but then peel the onion back. What are we really afraid of? Are we afraid of rejection? Are we afraid of being alone? Are we afraid of, um, you know, anything that, lots of things we could be afraid of. Just find out what you're really afraid of. Um, and in the end, you're worth it. You're worth it. You're too valuable. You have too many skills, as they have here in the growth zone. Remember what God gifted you to do and go out and just serve. Help others wherever you can. So that's what I'm finding that's helping me, and I hope that it will help you. And I really appreciate you guys letting me share my brief story and experience that I've had in the last month with you. So take good care, and I can't wait to meet with you guys soon again. CR. Take care. Bye-bye.